This nurse took a step that nobody anticipated. She attempted to hide it from the 2-year-old girl who was dying, but her mother snapped a photo and revealed the nurse's identity. The narrative starts on March 19, 2015. Shelby Skiles, a teacher and soon-to-be mother, was in the bathroom brushing her teeth when her water broke, 38 weeks into her pregnancy. After Shelby contacted her husband Jonathan, who had gotten up earlier and gone to the gym, they were on their way to the hospital by 8 in the morning. Upon arriving at the hospital, Shelby sensed an immediate problem. Although the contractions weren't very painful, she was unable to stand due to excruciating pain in her back and tailbone. When it came time for Shelby to push at 5:30 p.m., they discovered that the baby was locked in the sunny side up position, which was causing her back discomfort. This indicates that the infant's shoulders were lodged in her mother's pelvis, since the baby was facing upward rather than downward. The doctors advised Shelby to give it one final push because she was so tired. In the event that the baby still failed to emerge, a C-section would be necessary. Luckily, Sophie weighed 6 pounds, or 3 kilograms, during the last push. Sophie fulfilled her parents' every dream and then some. She was independent, sarcastic, inquisitive, and enthusiastic about everything, according to her mother. This 3-person family was well off and resided in Dallas, but things drastically changed in their lives 2 years after Sophie was born. The final night of normalcy in this family's house would be May 16, 2017. The family assembled the pink princess tent Sophie had gotten for her birthday on a low-key kind of night. They all went to bed after playing in it together, and nothing could have prepared them for what awaited them the following day. Shelby and her children went on a field trip for the 3rd grade the next day. Upon returning home, she went to Sophie's room to play with her daughter and discovered that the 2-year-old was having trouble breathing. After Shelby and Jonathan hurried their young daughter to the emergency room, they were transferred right away to the Children's Medical Center, Dallas. The physicians declared that there was a softball-sized lump in the patient's chest after several hours and a few tests. Without a doubt, it's cancer. Simply said, we are unsure of the kind yet. Shelby stated, "Our lives halted right there in that Children's Emergency Department critical care unit room. Our present concerns and issues appeared insignificant. Nothing mattered, including our baby's cancer diagnosis and the end of any future we had ever imagined. How is this possible when the young child was okay less than 24 hours earlier and slept soundly in her pink Princess Tentan aggressive type of T-cell lymphoblastic lymphoma was Sophie's diagnosis? This type of cancer affects lymphoblasts, which are young immune system cells. From this point, Sophie and her parents spent their time in and out of the hospital for 12 weeks, with fevers and having chemo. On August 8th, Sophie was transported to the ICU on a ventilator while she had 15 rounds of extremely harsh chemo in 5 days since she wasn't responding to therapy. Seeing my kid in such agony was extremely painful, and the fact that we had to see it repeatedly made it more worse. Since it was our last chance of survival and we knew it was essential, we were powerless to stop it. We had no choice except to pray and trust that God would get us through this. Still, there were some adverse consequences from the rigorous treatment. Her capacity to eat, move, communicate, use her hands, and pretty much do everything independently was entirely destroyed by it. Consequently, the family devoted the following 4 months to neurological rehabilitation in an attempt to prepare her body for a stem cell transplant. Even though the family was going through a very trying time, Shelby and her husband managed to endure by drawing strength from an unexpected source: the medical staff and nurses. They are her family, according to the 28-year-old instructor. According to Shelby, every hospital success story you read about has unsung heroes, nurses. They do more than simply deliver patients' medications and help the physicians accomplish their duties. Shelby feels that they stopped living for a whole 12 hours in order to tend to the hospitalized sick. She discovered herself writing one night because she was unable to fall asleep. Shelby started journaling about all the things the hospital's nurses did for her and other patients. "I was unable to fall asleep on the hospital room's uncomfortable couch at 3 in the morning. I just began recording the tasks performed by the nurses, and I never stopped." The instructor gave her daughter a Facebook profile named Sophie the Brave, and she utilized the site to post updates on her daughter's cancer fight. On the page, Shelby sent a note expressing her thanks to nurses. She mentioned a nurse in particular who made an effort to hide how much she loved Sophie. The nurse made a great effort to hide the extent to which the little girl's illness was impacting her. "I see you," Shelby wrote. "I see you all day long while I sit on this couch. You make such great effort to stay hidden from me and my child. When she sees you, I see your face fall a little and she starts crying. You make a lot of attempts to allay her worries and win her over. I understood then that you are my family." In order to preserve the many unique occasions when Sophie was treated like one of the medical team's daughters by the nurse or other team members, she occasionally recorded movies of the nurse and took pictures of her. She remarked, "I know it's their job, but to me, they are superheroes, and what they do is really amazing." Shelby thanked the nurses for lugging around a ton of medication into a child's ward as a phone rang in their pocket from a different child's room. Over 30,000 people have shared the post as of right now. On December 20th, Jonathan and Shelby received wonderful news. They were given the go-ahead to begin the several tests required to begin Sophie's stem cell transplant procedure. The couple began to rekindle their faith, hoping that they would eventually be able to bring their daughter home. Sadly, this little window of optimism was short-lived. Just 2 days. The cancer in Sophie had come back. The doctor informed the family that her cancer was terminal at 3 p.m. on December 22nd. I knew it was back the moment he walked in. His expression gave it away. He had been sobbing. Our physician, a top-tier pediatric stem cell specialist in the country, had been sobbing when she entered our room to inform us that it had returned. Shelby said that it had invaded her spinal fluid, bone marrow, entire chest cavity, and was currently entering the right side of the heart. The couple was informed that their daughter will die in a matter of days or hours. Although usually individuals are told they have 1 to 6 months before their loved one departs from them forever. Since her body couldn't withstand the additional suffering, the couple decided against starting her on chemotherapy again. Whatever brain function she would have been gone, according to the doctors. Shelby and Jonathan concentrated on making the most of their daughter's remaining days on the planet. They loved on their kid, read to her, sang to her, watched movies, and cuddled over the following few days. Sophie died in her parents' arms on January 4th. I'm glad she was able to spend her final days with her loved ones and in happiness, but I can't imagine how agonizing this must have been for her. She was ill for 243 days and was in the hospital for 8 months. For 2 years, 9 months, and 16 days, Sophie lived. Her parents celebrate her life every year, even though she went too young, and she will always be remembered. Sophie's mother wanted her to have something that brought her constant joy, so she was buried in her favorite Navy Crocs. Connor was born less than 2 years after Sophie died. The hospital where his sister was hospitalized is also where he was born. Shelby remarked, "One of the most priceless moments of my life was the first time I held him. Though he bears Sophie's lips and nose, he is nonetheless distinctly his own little self. Once they placed him on my chest, I felt whole again, at least as whole as I could be in Sophie's absence. He didn't make up for the gaps her passing left, but he did contribute to a little sense of redemption." How do you feel about the tale of this family? Let me know what you think by leaving a comment. Until we meet again,